Welcome to Retake, the show all about Rainbow Six Siege. I'm Lisa Dwan, here with Parker and Makai, looking so happy to be back because we're back. We're both together back
I'm
on
back.
the show. Well, yeah, but I was gone the week before.
Yeah, it was great.
So, yeah, and Flynn was also great.
It was the best show I've ever done in my life, my whole life.
Is that why you left?
My whole
the
life.
Week after that? Yeah,
I was so
great.
overjoyed. I needed a week to process that joy.
I appreciated that.
And I thought Flynn had been too happy, so he needed.
He was too happy.
He was too happy, so he needed to come on this show.
Yes.
To sit
Wait,
with you.
yeah, you know what? I'm really glad you did leave last week because then he gave me a chance to work with Flynn.
Right.
And I just want to say, he did a great job.
He did do a
He
good
did a fantastic job, and he taught me that you like to be called Parky, which I will now introduce you as. So here's Parky Makai. Sounds like a good dog name, doesn't it? He's like, good boy, doesn't it?
We have a great show for you today.
Go on.
We have a really hot topic to start off with. It's going to be something that everybody on social media has been discussing recently, which is viewership across all regions, not just one, but all of the competitive scene. And we got some numbers to back it up. And of course, speaking of hot, we got FoxA.
I shouldn't have done that noise. That was a little too much.
I mean, he does elicit that kind of response. FoxA from Oxygen is going to be on the show.
That's right. And continuing with the theme of hot, the market is hot right now. We're going to talk about free agency and take a look at all the free agents that are available right now and dive into that crazy market. It's a new market. You want to play? You want to join? You want to buy? Sell? Playing around?
I feel like I'm missing a reference.
I think
here.
so. I actually don't know where I was going with that. So.
But great segue, because somebody who is very near and dear to my heart, who always misses all of my references, is KiXSTAr. And Michael KiXSTAr Stockley was honored with the Esports Awards Color Caster of the Year this year. It was a pretty hotly contested contest, and he ended up winning it. So
proud.
He's not just a great caster, though. He used to be a player.
I thought you were going to go towards lover for a second. That's going to be in the upcoming piece, don't worry.
Maybe it is. But before we get to that lover component, we've got the archives for you, and we'll dive into all of his stats as a player and as a caster. KiXSTAr has seen it all during Siege's growth, both on stage and on stream. He quickly became one of Rainbow's earliest stars during his brief pro career. Lucky for us, he moved to the broadcasting desk and is now the best at what he does.
And the winner of Esports Color Caster of the Year is
KiXSTAr. Heading into his 5th year of casting Siege, things are looking bright for my partner in crime. Let's look at how Kix went from one of America's finest to the best color caster in esports. Kix entered the pro scene with Team Orbit, alongside the now retired Snakenade and K9. He'd end up being the team's #2 player, pulling up a modest 1.05 rating on the season. 1 point would give Orbit first place in NA and a spot in the first ever Pro League finals. Up against the Finnish Sisu squad, Orbit would lose out after 3 nail-biting maps in the semi-finals. They'd come back with a vengeance for Season 2, however. Orbit dropped only 1 map on the way to back-to-back North American titles. Kix was America's #2 fragger and tied for 3rd in rating that season, as Orbit looked red-hot heading into the Season 2 finals. Thrown up against Sisu in a semis rematch, Kix made sure things went differently this time. He went nuclear, hitting a 1.45 rating as Orbit got their revenge over the Finns to make the finals. They couldn't push past Youngtis, though, falling in back-to-back 5-3 losses. It was Kix's first and only Grand Finals appearance as a player. After 2 matches in Season 3, Kix left the ex-Orbit squad. Then, a fateful message in Twitch chat changed everything.
One of my good friends, Panky, he jumped on one of my streams, and in the chat he's just like, hey, you want to commentate? I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Panky was a Rainbow Six caster with ESL at the time, and well, he wanted Kix on stream for both his charisma and knowledge. Kix casted his first match with ESL in September 2016. It was a complete blowout by the future Continuum squad over Flipside. With his pro experience, Kix brought veteran insight and game sense that was a huge boost for the production. He casted with the likes of Panky, Emzo, and Bloodbath before taking a chance on me in 2017. Nowadays, it's hard to imagine the Rainbow Six scene without Kix as one of the voices behind it. He's got 9 Pro League seasons, 2 stages of the North American League, and nearly 20 LAN events under his belt as a caster. All in all, he's been involved with over 75 leagues, LANs, and qualifiers since getting that message from Panky. But his playing career didn't completely end with his Season 3 retirement. He returned to the stage against yours truly in one of the most electric matches at the 6 Major Raleigh. It was a hard-fought match from both sides, but a lucky shot gave Kix his first major championship, settled by a game of rock, paper, scissors. After 4 years of hard work behind the caster's desk, the esports community recognized Kix's talent just this year. Despite representation from much bigger games, Kix brought home the Best Color Caster Award to the Siege community.
I want to thank the Siege fans who make my job a reality. Without them, I wouldn't be here, and I'm sure my life would be all the bleaker for it. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for enjoying esports so much.
So congratulations again, Kix. Here's to many more broadcasts to come. I couldn't imagine doing it with anybody but you.
There it is. What a journey Kix has really gone through, and you were there for a lot of it, you know?
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
Most of it, I would say.
Does it bring a tear to your eye thinking about how far he's come, really?
I may have shed tears when he won the award.
So while, you know, the archives was playing, you made some really inappropriate noises about him. Do you want to share what your thoughts were? Make it appropriate though, like
No,
kind of. I believe the quote was hubba hubba.
Something like that.
Something like that. It was close.
It's just you know, it's the raw sexual energy of KiXSTAr.
Yeah.
It's very intimidating.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on because we got some very interesting stats. We're going to be diving into the topic of viewership, and everyone on social media was talking about it. I saw Jesse's breakdown of it on Twitter. If you guys haven't seen that yet, it was very informative. So we thought, you know what, let's dive into the topic. We got some stats from our friends too at SiegeGG, and we're going to talk about a couple things. The first thing, of course, is Major season just wrapped up.
Yes.
You obviously worked the NA Major. How are you feeling post-Major, I guess, season?
I feel good. It was nice to see TSM win the NA Major. I think that there's been some unexpected results, I would say. I mean, I did not see Empire winning the EU Major at all. That's probably the biggest upset for me. But the problem with having like regional majors is you see the same teams that have played each other, and there's no real innovation, and it was largely all under the same meta it's been under before. And the NA Major being under a bubble on LAN was kind of neat.
Yeah.
I do think that was kind of cool.
That is really cool, and you saw a lot of pros saying, even though it's not the same as actual LAN, having the crowds and everything, like they still love the fact that there was no ping. All that stuff was really great. But in terms of numbers though, there's some interesting stats if we compare the August Major to November Major.
Okay.
So let's go to August Majors, right? So they average 18K viewers across all of the 4 August Majors. So the NA Major had the highest average viewers at about 40,000, and it peaked at 71,000. I mean, not really a big surprise that NA is leading in viewership. Because I feel like they do a lot of great, branding. They do a lot of great content. They're really out there, and I think there's a lot of personalities people love to follow. So I feel like it's kind of expected. Now, if we bring up the numbers for the recent majors for November, so NA once again leads with the highest average this time, though, at 53K. They peaked at 68K. So that is a little bit less, but it's kind of the same compared to the August Major. If we look at the Pro League Season 10 finals, though, numbers-wise, it had an average viewership of 30K, peaking at 49. So huge improvement. Questions regarding, do you think being on LAN had any impact on, I guess, the increase in numbers, the interest in this particular month of majors?
I mean, for NA, I think that's hard to tell. I will say this. I don't know if I hadn't been working the event, I don't know how up to speed I would have been with the scheduling, because I mean, I didn't even know that APAC was last week. Right. I felt like maybe it's just that we've been so inundated with Rainbow Six, because there's a lot of it. There's a lot. That channel is running 24/7 now almost, and it's just every region and every sub-region, just it's wall-to-wall coverage. So I think what we're seeing is, whether it's LAN or not, as Jesse's tweet also pointed out, it's spread out.
Yeah.
People aren't just showing up for 1 or 2 matches. There are spikes, obviously, but for the most part, people are sticking around to watch it. Overall, maybe in lower peaks, but the valleys aren't as shallow as they used to be, or as steep as they used to be, so.
I mentioned before about how NA is always leading in these numbers, and made a comment that, maybe that's just expected. Is it expected though? I want to hear your thoughts. Are you surprised that NA leads in numbers?
I mean, the last official tally that I saw of live viewership, EU tends to do the best with LATAM in second. NA is third, but then NA does really, really well. The big orgs do really well on rewatches, and that's just because of the time zone. People on the East Coast in North America, when we have evening events, we go live at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's great for the West Coast. It's 3 o'clock. If you're not at home, if you're at work, you can't tune in right away. If you're in Europe, that's at 11, 12, or 1 a.m. depending on where you live. And in Latin America, depending on the time zones, in Brazil, it could be anywhere from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's late. When NA is live, a lot of regions are asleep, so it's very challenging to catch it live. EU tends to sit the best of all the time zones for live watching, but NA cleans up well when it comes to VODs.
For you though, and obviously when you're working NA, you're following NA, but the other regions, how do you keep up with all the regions?
If I were to dedicate every single time that the channel is live to hardcore watching, I don't think I would be able to keep up with NA as well as I do. And frankly, I kind of need to sacrifice watching other regions and then go back and either pick certain matches or pick certain performances, because there's hundreds of hours a month to watch. It's overwhelming.
Alrighty, we got the regional finals and 6 invitational qualifiers is coming right up, around the corner, and we're already seeing a lot of different moves in the NA scene. Are you excited for roster shuffle season? I feel like it's the hottest time.
It's roster mania.
It is, and
It's
this year is looking even more mania than normal.
Manic.
That's the word. That's the word I needed. Manic than usual.
We pay her to speak.
I try. All right, so with that in mind, let's talk about some of the hottest free agents that is on the market right now. You already have your thinking face on. I can see it. Let's talk about E-United, because E-United was picking up in the league, but unfortunately, due to circumstances, they gone. They gone. There's some really good talent on this roster. Is there a player that you have an eye on, or you feel like really stands out amongst this roster?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's gonna say Rexon. Rexon came in and he broke the best of 3 kill record, had one of the best KDAs that we've seen. He had one of the best entry stats that we've seen, and he did it on a pretty bad team, if we're being completely honest. I mean, the other thing too to keep in mind with these stats is that with the way that the North American League is structured, E-United was playing against the other bad teams. If it was just a regular season where E-United was playing Space Station more frequently, or TSM, or Dark Zero, or Oxygen, is it likely that Rexon has worse stats? Probably. Because he's going to do worse against better competition. At the same time, he still had some really good performances against strong teams. So for me, if there's anybody from the carcass of E-United I'm taking, it's Rexon. He's a direct upgrade, I think, over a number of entry fraggers on a couple teams. I think a team like Sonics or a team like Disrupt would be foolish not to pick him up.
I like how you brought up the fact that, there's that tier 1, tier 2 division, right? Divide. It makes you wonder, with the lower tier teams, would they actually be better being able to play against the top tier teams more often? Because you always hear in scrims, right? You want to face people who are better than you. It makes you better. So I wonder if this, divide actually end up harming, in a sense, or slowing their improvement and Rexon's potential, anyone's potential in this case. Do you think that tier system has that kind of maybe downfall impact?
Yeah, I think that the worst teams, their bad habits are reinforced against teams that don't punish them for it. And I think the key difference between playing a team like Tempo Storm versus TSM is that TSM is going to punish you for mistakes that Tempo won't. So yeah, you can have an entry fragger look like an absolute world beater going up against a team that is, mustering up a single win all stage and think, wow, they look great. and then they go ice cold against SSG or Dark Zero or TSM, and you say, oh, well, maybe they're just having a bad game. No, they're just being shut down because now they're actually playing a team that can keep you in check instead of a team that can't. We've got one of the most well-known personalities in not just North America, but all of Rainbow Six joining us for our interview on Retake. He's the third member of OXG to grace our presence. Davide Bucci, aka FoxA, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing really well. There's quite a bit of a time difference, so we know it's the morning there. Thank you very much for getting up outside of normal gamer hours. You look fantastic, as always.
Thank you. I tried to like, reverse my sleep schedule so that I'd be awake at these absurd times.
Absurd times being 10 a.m.
11:30 actually, but it's okay.
11:30 in the morning. Absurd times. I totally understand it though. You qualified for SI just a couple days ago, by the way, because of what happened in the APAC Major. First question for you, was there ever any doubt that you wouldn't qualify for the Six Invitational? And B, were you nervous at all watching those matches knowing that your fate lay in somebody else's hands?
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say we were nervous, but there was definitely some fear to it because the APAC Major, Jesse, the analyst, Jade Chick, I think his name is, the analyst, and we were looking at all the points and everything, and there was a possibility or a scenario, Doctor Strange in the Avengers, the Avengers movies, where he's like, there's a world where we win. In this one, it was a possibility where 6 APAC teams went, and in that one where 6 APAC teams go, then we wouldn't go. So we were like, dude, there's no way. But at the same time, if all the APAC teams banded together to figure this out, they could have gotten away with it, and then we would have lost our spot. So there was maybe a little fear, I guess, or worry, but not too much, because we just we had our friends out in APAC, the Fnatic guys were telling us what are the probabilities of who's gonna win what, and watching the games, I honestly watched some of the Cloud9 games, but I wasn't really trying to pay attention to some of the other matches, I guess.
That's understandable. It's also a weird time of day for us. I think the APAC matches went live at 5 or 6 a.m. Eastern, which would have been about 3 or 4 a.m. your time, or 2 a.m. your time, or something like that. So I can totally understand why you wouldn't watch those. Now, you have been able to qualify for the Six Invitational through competition outside of qualifiers themselves. So for example, last year in Reciprocity, you qualified for making it to Tokonami. The year before, you made it by winning DreamHack Montreal. Were you, as a player, kind of maybe excited to see if you would actually have to go through the qualifiers and beat teams to get there? Or is that overshadowed by the fact that you don't need to sweat it out because now you qualified through performance this season?
I definitely think the point system has its benefits. As for me as a player, I kind of miss, in a way, I kind of miss that old qualifier system. I miss kind of that old go for where you'd get up at 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. and you would play all day till 3 a.m. I kind of miss that a little bit, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's I miss it, but if I actually had to do it again, it would definitely be a lot more of a headache. So I'm kind of happy that we were able to qualify it this way.
There's been a lot of debate over social media among pros from not just North America, but other regions regarding the difference in formats from NA to EU to Latin America to APAC. Now, in North America, we're playing on best of threes, but additionally, there is a tiered system, if we can call it that, where you have the top tier and the bottom tier kind of playing in their own bubbles. Do you think the landscape of North America, or the US division to be more specific, would look any different if you weren't playing TSM, if you weren't playing DZ, if you weren't playing SSG week in, week out? Do you think there'd be any volatility to the results? Do you think that we could see maybe a difference in the rankings/seedings if the top teams had to play against the bottom teams rather than bottom teams play bottom teams, top teams play top teams?
Yeah, no, I definitely think if every team maybe played every team, or if the format was different, I feel like it's about consistency. And I feel like there's definitely a lot of teams in North America that pride themselves on being such a strategic and strat heavy team, or a team that is able to gather so much information, you know.
With that said, FoxA, thank you so much for joining us. All the best at the Six Invitational in a couple months. Enjoy your off season and the holidays as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and I hope everyone has a great holidays.
All right, it's Six posting time. This is where we share all the amazing R6 content that the community has. Are you dancing?
Yeah.
Are you losing yourself to dance?
We were, yes.
we were playing that song.
DMCA!
Are we not allowed to say that? Can we say that? Anyways, so once again, Six posting. We're gonna share some great things the community has been posting. Now, the first item is close to home.
And even with superpowers, he'd still be far from super. Such an easy win.
Give us the behind the scenes details. How was it recording it?
It was good. I got an email out of the blue one day through my business account basically saying that they were looking to do a promotional campaign for the fall and they wanted me to be a part of it, or at least to try out. They had a couple people in mind and they wanted to bring me in, so I did a bunch of test runs for them. And then I recorded a bunch of stuff at home. I sent it away, and then they had me in for a call, determined that it was good enough. It took about, it honestly, everything you see there is what was recorded. There's nothing that was left on the cutting room floor. It took about an hour and a half, something like that. An hour and a half, start to finish.
So was that a live session?
I woke up, I went and I got coffee, and then I came back and I recorded, and then I made lunch. That was it. It was that simple.
We have a tweet from Space Station Spaltz. He promised to do something that will end a who knows how long human tradition. This is what he tweeted. If you a dude and look under 30, I'm dapping you up. We gotta stop with these firm handshakes. We both youngins. I read it with, ferocity in my voice because he all caps that.
It was all caps.
It was all caps, so I had to. Do you agree that the handshake should
The hell does that mean? We dap it up.
No, it's like this. We're dapping like this now.
How can I trust you and shit?
You could dap me up.
See, that's when you know Parker's old. He didn't know what a dap was.
No, I get what a
No,
dap
you
is.
do not get what
Dapping it up. What is this treehouse moon language that these kids speak these days?
That's slang.
If professional hockey players can do a handshake line at the end of a hard-fought playoff series, a bunch of sweaty nerds can do the same thing.
Oh my god. Oh, so you're actually defending the handshake.
Yeah, why not? I mean, not during a pandemic. Keep your distance. But when it's safe to do so.
Really? I'm kind of on the team where I kind of don't like the handshake. I want to phase that out.
You dap your teammates.
Well, I'm not gonna. Well, like.
You shake the hands of your opponent.
I don't know. I'm team phase out the handshake. All right.
Yeah, but are you team
what?
phase up?
Oh, there's no phase in
LATAM.
Well, there is. I got there NA. But now you're saying you're a phase fan?
You can cheer for other regions.
No. That's blasphemy. How could you?
Biased.
We're NA. All right. Before you attack me for being biased, that's it from this episode. Be sure to follow us on all our socials at Watch Retake. We have a YouTube channel that we upload full episodes to, so you can watch it again and again. I'm Lisa Dawn here with Parker McKay. We'll catch you next week.